Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Great rising. Happy Thursday. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for joining another episode of Master Force with Mu Shemsu-t. I'm excited to be presenting the fourth episode of Level Up series. I don't know if you joined me for the other shows, but we started off looking at our wealth factor, like where are we blocking our money? So really, you can go back and look at that. We introduced an app, a book. We want to make sure that we understand that there's nothing that can keep us from having what is ours except for ourselves. And that work starts on the inside. So you want to go back to episode 1 in the first month of July, where we started off with how to unblock your money. And then our next episode was for families, mothers, and children. We talked about the curriculum around Mommy Teaches the Young Ninja. And it's a way for us to really provide, what do I want to call, emotional EQ, emotional intelligence to our children. And especially the younger they are, that we can do that, the better. So, if you can get that to your children, it's a complete set because we have the book series as well as the website and as well as the YouTube channel. So that's something, and 7 books, and the other 3 will come out later this year. And then our third series, we actually looked at awakening the yin factor. Now, everyone who's alive now knows that the divine feminine is on the rise. And so part of our work as women, which is why I'm so excited to be a part of the Female Solution, part of the Master Force coaching team, so many different sects of people that I operate inside of that are doing the work to become more of themselves. In becoming more of ourselves, meaning that we actually embrace our yin energy as well as our yang energy in order to produce the life that we love. So if you didn't get to see that episode, I suggest that you see it. And then today's series, Know Thyself. Now, what's interesting about that is you tell somebody, you say, do you know who you are? Do you know yourself? And, oh, yeah, I don't like this. I like this. I don't do that. I do that. Well, that's one level of knowing. And that's usually the physical, the outward knowing. What we want to do in this conversation, we want to talk about what does it mean to get into the true essence of who you are. So we want to talk about what it means to discover your purpose, to align your path, and to live your truth that's only designed for you. So when we're talking about know yourself, we want to support your life in soul purpose. We want you to leave this conversation understanding that the blueprint is already within you, that each one of us was designed by the cosmic setup of the universe. You see in that movie, Roots, how when Kunta Kinte is born, his father holds him up in the air and he's holding him up to the heavens. And then the shaman is over to the side, mapping out what does the signs line up, And then when we say happy solar return, that's because on your birthday, all of those energies align again to provide you that same energy for 4 days so that you can download. So the blueprint is already within you. And when you understand that, you realize that you are uniquely and divinely made. So you don't need to compare who you are to someone else, because they also are uniquely and divinely made. And then astrology for us is our cosmic signature. When you understand who you are from the cosmetic viewpoint, then you become aligned and ready to decode your birth date. That's what we're here for. Our life, we're here to decode, to really find out who you are. What aspect of you are representing God in this lifetime if we were created in that image? So, what we want to do is we want to align ourselves with our sacred self. We want to align with our sacred self, right? The inside with the higher self that can touch the heavens. So this is going to be a great conversation. Now, the way that I want to introduce this conversation to you today is to actually provide for you a prompt that you can use on any of the AI platforms. And you can write this prompt, you can type this prompt into any of the AI promptings, right? Any of the search parts. And you can say, review my birthday. And you put in your birth date, you put in the time, and you put in the location. Now, if you don't know the time, that's okay. Just don't put it in, but definitely put in the location. And then you're going to tell it, and conduct an astrological search on all of my attributes, Use all astrological modalities, including natal charts, Chinese astrologies, destiny cards, and others. That's the prompt. Now, when you put that prompt into the actual AI, it will generate all of the information as it relates to your birthday. And now you begin to decode who you are and the reason that you came here. Now, this is exciting because when you actually get to the point of understanding and appreciating who you are, and begin to decode yourself inside of your astrological cosmic view, you then have another idea, another level to play from, because you're not like anyone else and you really are the original. So look at that prompt, write it down, review my birth date, add your birth date, your time, location, and conduct an astrological search on all my attributes. Use all astrological modalities, including natal charts, Chinese astrology, destiny cards, and others. Okay. Now, I actually put that prompt in for Michael Jackson's birthday, right? Because Michael Jackson's birthday is coming up in August 29th. And then also, he and I were born in the same birth year. So I love always looking up Michael Jackson, Prince. Madonna, we were all born in 1958, right? So this gives us a look at the astrological makeup of a global icon. So we're going to look at Michael's Western astrology, his Chinese astrology, his numerology, and then his destiny cards, and really look and see how that made him who he is. Now, the reason that I'm doing this, because I want you to see that in the flow of him being himself and living up to who he is, he literally became his true essence of Michael Jackson. That's why we can celebrate him to this day. He became his full self, his full representation. And not to say that he followed astrology. I don't know if he did that or not, because we're taught at such a young age that it's the devil's instrument. It's a sin, and that's just another way for people to keep you from knowing yourself. Let me tell you that something is of the devil. Let me tell you that it's a sin. Let me tell you that it's dangerous. And then you believing that, you stay away from the information and you play small. And that's how our educational systems are. Our all of our institutions are based on wanting us to play small, wanting us to be less than what we are. Why? So that we can be controlled. Okay, so I'm not going to get on that soapbox. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and look at who is Michael Jackson and his cosmic makeup. So now we want to look at the symbolic blueprint. First of all, the ground rule. These traditions are interpretive, not scientific personality measurements. We read them as archetypes, okay, like archetypes. So they're not set in stones. It's a symbolic language for gifts, tensions, lessons, and public patterns. So it's a way for us to see ourselves through an archetype or symbolic language. Now, when we look at the birth time, it's commonly circulated. Michael Jackson's birth time is at 7:33 p.m. And it's not treated as fully verified, but it gives us his rising sign and his houses because of that 7:33 p.m. And then for us, we want to look across all systems. The question is not, was he good? The question is, what archetypal forces shaped his gifts, the missions, and the burden? See, each one of us come in with a burden, right? We come in, we asked to be born. Many of us, we rushed here because we came with our mission intact. So when we're looking at the symbolic blueprint of Michael Jackson, he was August 29th, 1958, Gary, Indiana, at 7:33 p.m. And remember, I gave you the prompt, and I'll provide that prompt again as we go through this conversation. But this is a way that we're looking at Michael Jackson so we can see how he showed up through his cosmic view. So now, Michael is the Virgo sun. That's most of August, and that's the end of August and first part of September. So he's August 29th. Virgo sun represents precision, refinement, discipline, service, rehearsal, technical excellence, and the urge to perfect the work. I am so grateful for the Virgo people in my life, especially Manetti is because when I wrote my first book, she happened to be available. And when I tell you that every day she would call and say, what are we doing today? What do we need to do? And she had me get that book done and get it to the publisher because they needed it within 30 days when they realized that I had completed the work. So that Virgo sun provides that precision and that discipline in that. And then the Pisces moon, right, brings in his sensitivity, imagination, his empathy, his musical feeling, musical feeling, right? When you look at Michael, when he's directing people on how to do his work, you know that it's all about what he feels in the music, in the session. His dream state creativity in the need for emotional and spiritual escape. And I believe that's why he loved animals so much, because really his essence could relate to them without doing so much talking, without having to empty so much of himself. He just gets to be. So the core polarity between the Virgo sun and the Pisces moon for him would be the exact control versus his emotional transcendence. So that Virgo wants to control things, but Pisces is all about what you feel, what you sense. and what you can imagine. So he was able to work inside of both of those. And that's what kept him balanced for the most part. So now when we look at the sun in Virgo, that's his craft, that's his order, that's his refinement, that's his work ethic, and the discipline to turn feelings into exact form. So his sun in Virgo allowed him to have the discipline to turn his feelings into exact form. So he could say something, he could see it, and then he could create the musical excellence of that. That's amazing, right? We think of his work. Like one of my favorite songs, "The Man in the Mirror," right? All of us, that's that's one of those slogans that we say often, but he actually converted that into an exact form. That feeling of, yeah, look at yourself. But he turned it into an exact form for us to really see and hold on to for the rest of our lives. And then with the moon in Pisces, the imaginations, the empathy, the permeability, the longing for innocence, right? Playing with the children, animals, his whole Netherland, right? Neverland, not Netherland, Neverland. And then his emotional communion with his audience. I love when we see Michael and he comes on the stage and he just stands out there. He can stand out there for minutes and just everyone can be with him and he can be with them. And that's a natural exchange of energy that they're experiencing. So the public actual correction or correlation projection that we see is the genius and the vulnerability to be vulnerable in front of a world, right? He has the adult authority in the childlike innocence. We all see that. He has extreme control in emotional fragility. He is a human being with a global symbol. So that's how we get the sun and the moon to correlate and project to us in public. Now, we look at Leo 5. Now, when I was doing this research, I had no idea that Michael had so much Leo in his chart, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense when you think about it because he literally, he was very gentle in how he reacted to his father, right? I mean, I don't know. I didn't see him, flare up with that fire or that temper with Joe, right? But he honored and respected that. But if we look at these three aspects where he has the Leo fire, it makes him the royal performer. So in Mercury, his Mercury is in Leo. The mind communicates through theater, exclamations, timing, gesture, drama, phrasing, and unforgettable vocal punctuation. That's what the Mercury in Leo provides. And then when you look at Uranus in Leo, it's the innovation, what's new, he's so curious about the music. He's curious about video and his dance, dance vocabulary, his concert experience, in the very definition of pop stardom. I mean, when you look at the things that he did when he did the video for Bad, how he literally used street gangs, right? He used the Crips and the Bloods to actually produce the video. And he told his producers, no, we're not wanting actors. We want the real thing. And he knew that it wouldn't be a problem because he understood how to communicate with his audience. So his Venus in Leo, his art becomes glamour, sequins, gold, ceremony, silhouettes, spectacle, in a visual language. So he has Leo fire in three very prominent positions that actually gives him and provides for him who he is and who he actually wants to be to the people. Okay, so he is the actual royal performer when we start looking at this with Michael Jackson. So Leo asked the question, will the gift radiate? Now, if you have Leo any place in your chart, I want you to know that your gift is always trying to shine. That's the fire in Leo. It's always going to be front and center stage, always. So now we want to look at what embodied his discipline. Mars, right? We want to have Mars as the embodied discipline for Michael Jackson. The body becomes an instrument. Can you see that? All of us remember that the body becomes an instrument. Taurus Mars works through stamina, the sensual rhythm, the grounded power, repeated practice, physical control, and patience. Mars in Taurus is a very active component because Mars itself represents the energy of power and war and machine. It's the military. It's the Martian. So it has strength. One movement is refined until it becomes iconic. And then the shadow is rigidity, that stubborn attachment. It has to get it right. It has to be perfect. And I'm going to keep doing it until it comes to life the way that I sense it. And then the difficulty releasing the patterns. In other words, he worked himself into a frenzy. And this is what created the moonwalk, right? This is exactly what created the moonwalk for us. That is one of the things. You have the Taurus precision, the Virgo refinement, and the Leo showmanship. All of that is embedded and invested inside of that Mars in Taurus. So now I want you to look and see. Can you see the importance of us seeing how the stars lined up for Michael Jackson to actually be who he is? Now, the reason that he was able to exemplify himself is because the actual family that he grew into. Naima says, Michael was clearly one of the enlightened beings among us. That's why his music is still influencing the entire. Absolutely. He is one of the most enlightened. And, you know, he actually got to be inside of the freedom of expressing himself. He actually got to do that. So that's fun for him as well. Now, I want you to remember that I told you that we can actually use this prompt. We want to put this prompt inside of any of the AI platforms. And the prompt says, review my birth date, and you're going to add your birth date there. You're going to add your birth time if you have it. If you don't, just leave it blank. And then you're going to add the location. So review my birthday and conduct an astrological search on all my attributes. Use all astrological modalities, including natal charts, Chinese astrology, destiny cards, and others. Now, when I did this for myself, it gave me like 19 different points. So that's how many different ways. When we're talking about know ourselves, we're asking you to actually do some research around who you are. What makes you you? What provides the essence of your being? Now, we're actually looking at who Michael Jackson is through this lens, but I want to encourage you to look at the lens for yourself so that you can begin to take on what it means to know thyself. Now, one of the reasons that this became important to me is because I have many clients that go through a lot of, like all of us, we go through a lot of different things in life. And most of the time, they're comparing themselves to who their parents think they should be or thought they should be, or the regrets that they have of the past because they didn't excel at something that they thought they wanted. Now, here's what's different for us when we're not doing our work on the inside. The universe knows that we came into life as a request, that there were certain things that we wanted to learn. Our soul wanted to learn things during this lifetime. And this isn't our first lifetime, right? We're souls. The essence of who we are is our soul. So we want to enhance that while we're here. So when we're going in and we're thinking that our ego is who is supposed to tell us what to do, who to be, where to go, or we follow the directions of society telling us who to be, what to do, and where we're supposed to go. Anytime we use that as a measure, we begin to lose ourselves. We're not grounded in the essence of who we are. We're grounded in who and what others expect us to be. And this is why so many people end up living, quiet lives of desperation, because they never find out that the true essence of who they are is part of decoding their birthday. And again, I'm going to speak to, I don't know. I grew up in church, and church always said, astrology is a sin. That's the devil's work. And then when you go and meet a lot of people who are religious and spiritual, you find out that all of them do readings. All of them look for astrology. All of them look to see how is the energy of the day affecting me and my well-being. Because we're all part of the cosmic makeup. So if you refuse to take on the work of who you are, and all you want to do is get applause and produce for people to see you, then you miss the opportunity to live in this amazing body, this amazing life that can give you so much more if you would actually look and see who you are. Now, when I found out that I was a Queen of Spades, born on January 2nd, that changed a lot for me, because the Queen of Spades, first thing it says is that you're going to live a very challenging childhood, or there could be some things that could rock you. Oh, that makes sense now. It's some things that you need to learn so you can support others. And and I already knew that I was a Capricorn and all of that, but to find out that in the destiny cards, that Queen of Spades made a huge difference for me. So here is the prompt you want to put into any of the AI platforms. Review my birthday, and then you want to add your birthday, time, and location. All of that is important. And you want to say, and conduct an astrological search on all my attributes. Use all astrological modalities, including natal charts, Chinese astrology, destiny cards, and others. And there are plenty of others. When I tell you that getting to know thyself, when you study yourself, you will be studying yourself for the rest of your life. It's like there's no need to worry about what other people are doing, because just in the studying of yourself is going to give you plenty to take on and to look at. All right. So that I want you to really take this prompt, put it in the AI, and allow it to give you some inside information on yourself. Please do that. And, do it even if it makes you feel foolish. Do it if it makes you feel guilty. Do it out of curiosity. One of the things that makes us grow older faster is because we know too much and we don't want to learn anything new. We want to change that. We want to learn new things every day. We want to actually look at different aspects of ourselves as much as we possibly can. So before we go into the next segment, we're going to continue to look at Michael Jackson. I want to bring up Naima talking about the energy product that we're working with Sister Zelda on. And this is a fundraiser for the Homeless Project. So please listen at the end, write down the number, give Naima a call, and take this on. You can help plenty of people. You can help the homeless. You can also save some money on your energy bill. And then you can also donate funds to our project. All right, thank you. I'll be right back.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's why they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
Wonderful. Thank you. And give Naima a call so that you can help your energy bill. You can help feed the homeless, and you can actually donate to the cause. Wonderful. So now, as we continue on with Michael Jackson, we just finished looking at the Western astrology for Michael. Now we're looking at the Chinese astrology. And Michael is considered an earth dog. Now, when you think of dogs, everyone already knows that a dog can be the most loyal companion that you can have on earth, right? The most loyal companion. So the gifts of the earth dog are loyalty, responsibility, justice, sincerity, protection of the vulnerable, and the drive to build something meaningful and enduring. Now, those are some, when you look at that, you can see all of the things that Michael left for us are indicated in that earth dog gift, right? Because we know that he had a deep loyalty to his family. He had a deep loyalty to his audience and his friends, his drivers, the people that supported him. And then the responsibility that he took on so many things behind the scenes that we didn't even realize it. And the justice that he tried to ensure for children, you know, and the protection of the vulnerable. I love how people talked about how he did his best to try to stop childhood trafficking. And then his drive to build something meaningful, his record label, his style, his music, Neverland, the actual, he provides for us this angelic warrior being, right? Someone who really challenges us to look at the world and make a difference with the time that we're here. But start with ourselves. That's part of his legacy, to tell us to start with ourselves. And then the tension that goes along with those gifts would be worry, hypervigilance, suspicion about betrayal, carrying other people's burdens, and staying loyal beyond healthy limits. The repeating theme is the guardian of innocence and global consciousness. So you can see that even though you have these gifts, in order to play them out in life, there's going to be some tensions. And we can tell that all of these things happened with Michael. He spoke about how Sony Music was betraying him. He took on the burden of the whole music industry because he knew how Black artists, and not just Black artists, how other artists were being treated. They weren't being treated fairly. But then he stayed loyal to people beyond healthy limits. So these are the things that Michael was having to deal with. Now, are you an Earth dog? Were you born in 1958? Unless you're born in the earlier part. If you're born in January of 58, you are a fire rooster. But if you're born in the later part of 1958, that's after the Chinese New Moon in February, then you become the Earth dog. And yeah, they changed astrology too, so that we would not know ourselves. So this is how deep it is. They changed the whole calendar year so that you would not know the essence of who you are. That's how serious this is. Okay. So now we want to look at the modality for Michael Jackson for his numerology. And his numerology gives him the life path of 6. He is the humanitarian healer. And we know how people are healed by his energy. So his birthday is the 29 and 11, and it expresses as the 8. The life path of 6 is beauty. There's that responsibility again. He has responsibility all the way through his chart. Zelda says, because of Michael, the system has been exposed and artists are finding other ways to benefit. That's right. That is so true. You know, that's why I love Chance the Rapper and his whole squad, because they're independent and they teach everybody else in their circle to be independent. Like, make your own money and develop your own craft, right? So he has protection, service, children, and collective uplift. He uplifts each one of us. And then when we get to his birthday, that 29, 11, and 2, he has this sensitivity, right? Inspiration, intuitive audience connection. You know how Michael made people pass out, made them faint just to be in the aura. I think we can all say that if we saw aura for the first time, it was Michael Jackson, right? And Prince. I mean, you know, they're such both great, but Michael Jackson definitely. And then his expression of 8, the authority, ownership, material manifestation, that infinity sign, right? That's it, right? Publishing, legacy, and enterprise scale business. This is who Michael Jackson is for numerology. He is the humanitarian healer. So you can hear stories about Michael having taken care of families. He loved going to hospitals to visit cancer patients, especially children. He always, every chance that he could, he would go and visit the hospital and visit the cancer ward and take gifts and just spend time with children, because he knew what it meant to help others to heal. So that's who Michael Jackson was for us in numerology. Now, when we look at the destiny cards, and here you can go to 7, the number 7, 7thunders.com, 7thunders.com. And that's Robert Camp's, that's his website. And if you put in just your birth date, not the year, just your birth date, it will come back and it will tell you the card that represents your date of birth. Now, this is an ancient African astrology. And it was designed because, the shaman wanted to teach children how to understand cosmogony, how to read the signs, how to know what the sun and the moon are doing in the energy that it represents. So they made up these 52 symbols. You know, they weren't cards when they made them up, they were probably rocks. So they made up these 52 symbols to represent 52 weeks of the year, right? That's how many weeks we have in a year. And then for each season, they made up the four actual, you know, essence. You have the heart is your spring. Is it the summer? And then you have your hearts, and the hearts are going to rule children and the young people. And then you're going to have the clubs, and that's going to rule your businesses and young adults. And then you have the diamonds, which is going to rule money and value, and that's older adults. And then you have the spades, which is usually ruling at the soul level or knowledge base, and that's about the elders. So you have the spring, summer, fall, and then winter. So you have the four seasons that go throughout the year represented in the destiny cards. And so every card has a day. And this is how you go, and it tells you what day you were born, and then it tells you that every 52 days that changes and you get another set of energy. This is a way for you to tap into the person that you came here to be. So Michael Jackson came here to be a 10 of heart. The 10 of heart gift is a person who reaches groups emotionally through love, rhythm, creativity, shared feeling, and the wish to bring joy. And he did that. He did that. In the 10 of heart lesson, the universal aberration become intimate love. Can the person receive affection without performing for it? Now, I think that was probably Michael Jackson's, that towards the end of his life, he was looking to see, I know who I am. I don't have to keep performing to be loved, to be appreciated, to be acknowledged. You know, I think he had that argument back and forth with Joe Jackson too. It's not about just my performance and what I do. He was actually into his emotional reach, what he needed to give back to society. It wasn't just about the performance, right? He really did understand that his work mattered. And that was that 10 of heart. He reached the groups. And then when we look at the integrated archetypes, we have the perfectionists, we have the sun, Pluto, we have Virgo sun, Pluto in Virgo, Mars in Taurus, representing exact craft, body discipline, technical mastery. That's the perfectionist artist. And then the sensitive visionary comes through in the Pisces moon, which is that 2911. That possible Pisces rising with spiritual sensitivity, the imagination, the emotional permeability, right? He can go deep into something. I mean, even when he's directing and he says, let that marinade, you understand that. We understand what he means by that. It's that he can sense it, he can feel it, he can hear it. Let that marinade. And then he has the global performance. That's for those Leo placements in the 10 of heart and the expression of 8. 8 says that you have global representation. He's a spectacle. He has charisma. He has mass appeal. And he's seen on a commercial scale. And then the humanitarian guardian, that life path of 6, the earth dog, the healer, the protector, the moral messenger, and the defender of innocence. So we have these 4 archetypes that make up Michael Jackson, right? This is who he is. He actually displayed the truest essence of himself right before our eyes. He literally gave us a snapshot into what it means to be fully actualized. Now, if you think about when we were learning sociology and we learned about Maslow's laws, one of the things was that in order to know that you have lived life, you want to get to the point where you can feel fully actualized. Like everything that you came to life to do, be, and to have, you got there. Now, we have to start off with survival first. You have to make sure that you can feed yourself, clothe yourself, teach yourself, so there's levels to this. And we can see that Michael Jackson went through all of those levels to actually become these four integrated archetypes. And we're grateful for it. And I want you to be inspired by this so much so that you want to go and look and see who you are. And if we want to take a look at what the central spiritual interpretation of Michael Jackson is, he is a highly sensitive visionary that came into the world with the discipline to perfect his gifts, the charisma to reach humanity, and the commercial power to reshape global culture. This extraordinary gift and the vulnerability came from the same source, a rare capacity to transmit feeling into collective consciousness. So that's who Michael Jackson became for us. He became himself. Michael Jackson became himself. That's what he did for us. He became himself. And so the purpose of this episode is to inspire you to become yourself. How do you know if you're becoming yourself? You want to do some inner work. How do you do that? You want to put this prompt into either ChatGPT, Gemini, Google Gemini, uh, Copilot, any of them, right? And you want to say, review my birth date. Put your birth date in, time, location. If you don't have the time, that's okay. And then tell it to conduct an astrological search on all my attributes. Use all astrological modalities, including natal charts, Chinese astrology, destiny cards, and others. And then if there's some specific that you want to use, put those in there too. When it did mine, it gave me tarot readings. It gave me a lot of different other ones to look at. So see what it's going to share with you inside of who you are. Now, I want you to know that to know yourself gives you such a great sense of personal appreciation because you don't have to keep looking outside to see, to seek approval or to know if anyone is watching. You learn to produce things because that's what your soul wants you to do, or that's what you are edged on to do. Or when you're sitting in meditation and you have this thought and you know that that thought is telling you to do something, right? And so you go and do it. This is why it's important for us to get to the point where we appreciate silence, where we can go into meditation, where we can hold ourselves present long enough to just really be comfortable and safe right there. Can you imagine being safe even during the chaos? That's the kind of power we have. And then each one of us have certain gifts The same way Michael Jackson had gifts. Now, he was supposed to be on the global stage. All of us aren't supposed to be on the global stage. We don't have to want to be like Mike. What we want to do is to be true to ourselves. We want to find our own authentic expression. We want to give as much of ourselves to our life purpose as we can. Well, I want you to understand that sometimes in this life, we have been taught over and over again that our life purpose has to reflect around your job, your status, where you live, the house you live in, how much money you make. And that is not it. That is not it. Just because you have more money than one person does not mean that your value is greater than that person. And this is what we want to begin to understand, that the true essence of who we are is to be ourselves. Our greatest self-expression is being authentic and not performing, not putting on a show, not trying to be liked, not trying to impress, but really, and I think that we can see that too. Michael just wanted to perform for us, but that was because that was his artistic expression. That wasn't him trying to impress us. That was him sharing his gift. So what gifts do you have to share? Are you doing that? How do you know? Well, this is how you know. You look and you begin to decode your birthday. You began doing the work to know yourself. And this is one avenue of doing that. But once you put this prompt in, and like I said, it gave me 19 different points. And you can go and study each point. I mean, even if you put a year curriculum, you study 1 point for a month, that's over a year curriculum. You get a PhD on yourself, right? Know yourself. So that is the purpose of today's conversation, to inspire you to do the work. So you put this prompt into Gemini, and the websites that the AI sites that I'm talking about, they're free. So it's not going to cost you anything to put this prompt in there. And then it's going to work a few minutes and it's going to come back and it's going to give you all of this information only about you. So the more accurate you are, if you could get that time of birth in there, that location, right? And of course the birthday, right? But this is how accurate it becomes for you to know who you are. So you put that prompt into the AI, and it's going to come back and it's going to tell you your sun, your moon, your ascending, your Mars, your Venus. And all of this helps you to understand how you do business, how you love, how you relate to your family. It really is information that will provide support. And it's not permanent. It's not like you have to be like this. No, it's just insight. It gives you archetypes so that you can get an idea. Oh, yeah, I can see myself there. I can see that. Okay. So that is it for my episode number 4 of the Level Up series. Now we have spent, 4 different sessions looking at all of the, not all, but I gave 4 distinct ways to level up. The first way is to unlock your financial blocks. I hope that you were able to receive that, because I see so many people hustling and it doesn't make any difference because they still have blocks from their childhood that does not allow them to receive. The first work that we need to do is to make sure that we're forgiving all of the pain from our childhood, our regrets, the people that hurt us. That's the first step before you can move into the highest essence of who you are. So when we looked at the Wealth Master group That's an actual app that you can, it's wealthmaster.group, that you can actually use to begin to look at what are the things that are in my way, what's blocking me from achieving wealth. And then you can purchase the book on that app if you choose to. You can purchase the book, an ebook, or you can also purchase a softcover book that comes in the mail, right? So, and then this becomes a journal for you to actually write down the things that you're working through. The way that we teach at Masterforce is do the work for yourself, see for yourself that it works, and then teach the next person. Provide this knowledge for others. So that first week was unblocking your money. The second week was getting to the essence of teaching our children their internal strengths, teaching them about breathing, meditation, affirmations, visualization, trusting God, trusting the universe, and even that death is not the end of life, and teaching us how to actually acknowledge our ancestors and participate with them on a daily basis, because they are not gone, right? So that was under the Mommy Teaches the Young Ninja. We have a book series and a website for that parents and teachers can use and find the curriculum on there. And then last week we looked at awakening the yin within, and men and women need to access their yin. Men have the hardest time receiving because they have been taught only to stand in their masculine energy, when all of us, every flower, every planet, everything in the universe have both yin and yang energy, including each one of us. So we all must get to the point where we can access our yin energy and start receiving and allowing ourselves to be taken care of. And then finally today, get to know yourself. That's your full strength. Know thyself. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I appreciate the time that you take out, whether it's the morning show. We actually show this presentation again at 7 p.m. tonight. Please, I like for you to click like, share, and then comment. I've been a podcaster since 2011, and I don't get that many views, and that's okay, because I am one of those people that if one person can actually receive information, that one person can change their entire family. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 million for me. I'm on the one person trip. Okay. So if you're that one person, thank you for listening. And please like, share, and comment. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me today. Bye.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jareh. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.